What if the problem between two people is not love? What if the problem is not effort? What if both people are trying, both people are feeling, both people are attached, but their emotional bodies are built for completely different kinds of intimacy? This is where the Purnima Chaturdashi Tithi pairing becomes very important, because this is not a simple compatibility. This is not the easy, soft, romantic pairing where two people naturally understand each other's emotional rhythm. This is a pairing of fullness and fire. Purnima wants love to feel complete. Chaturdashi wants love to feel intense. Purnima wants emotional safety. Chaturdashi wants emotional truth. Purnima wants peace after closeness. Chaturdashi may want transformation through closeness. And this is where the relationship begins to become complicated. Because you may love each other, but love alone does not solve the problem when one person's emotional body says, "Let us feel whole," and the other person's emotional body says, "Let us burn through what is false." This is the hidden tension in Purnima Chaturdashi intimacy. Purnima is a full moon emotional body. It carries completion, visibility, emotional fullness, dignity, and the desire for a relationship that feels meaningful, respectable, and stable. Purnima does not usually want a half-hearted bond. Purnima wants to feel that love has direction, that the relationship has emotional clarity, that the partner is present, and that the bond is not constantly disturbed by unnecessary intensity. Chaturdashi is different. Chaturdashi comes just before completion, but it is not completion. It is the threshold. It is pressure. It is intensity. It is the burning point before release. Chaturdashi carries emotional extremity, transformation, self-dependence, spiritual longing, truth-seeking, and sometimes commitment confusion. So when these two come together, the attraction can be powerful. Purnima may be drawn to Chaturdashi's mystery, depth, intensity, and emotional magnetism. There is something about Chaturdashi that does not feel ordinary. It feels layered. It feels private. It feels like there is a deeper story inside this person. And Chaturdashi may be drawn to Purnima's fullness, confidence, emotional radiance, and capacity to hold life together. Purnima can feel like a light in Chaturdashi's inner complexity. Purnima can feel like someone who brings form, dignity, and emotional meaning into a life that may otherwise feel too intense, too self-contained, or too restless. But attraction is not the same as compatibility. This is where many couples misunderstand the relationship. You may feel the pull, you may feel the fascination, you may feel that this person awakens something in you, but after the initial attraction, the deeper pattern begins to show. Purnima starts asking, why is this relationship so heavy sometimes? Chaturdashi starts asking, why does this person want everything to be so settled? Purnima wants emotional nourishment. Chaturdashi wants emotional depth. Purnima wants to feel reassured. Chaturdashi may not always know how to reassure without feeling trapped. Purnima wants love to become a place of rest. Chaturdashi may experience love as a place of transformation, confrontation, purification, and inner revelation. And this is why the relationship can feel beautiful and draining at the same time. Now listen carefully. If you are Purnima in this pairing, you may feel that you are giving warmth, patience, emotional space, and a desire to make the relationship whole. But you may also feel that the Chaturdashi partner does not always receive your love in a simple way. You may offer affection, and they may withdraw. You may ask for clarity, and they may become silent. You may try to stabilize the relationship, and they may bring another emotional intensity, another truth, another restless dissatisfaction. And slowly, you may begin to wonder, am I loving someone who does not know how to be loved? But that may not be the full truth. Chaturdashi is not necessarily rejecting love. Chaturdashi is often struggling with how to receive love without losing independence, intensity, and inner sovereignty. Now, if you are Chaturdashi in this pairing, you may feel that Purnima is warm, capable, emotionally visible, and generous. But you may also feel that Purnima wants to define the relationship too quickly. You may feel that Purnima wants peace before truth. You may feel that Purnima wants emotional stability, but you want emotional honesty. And you may begin to think, why does this person not understand my depth? But that may also not be the full truth. Purnima may understand depth, but Purnima may not want depth to become constant emotional disturbance. This is the first major incompatibility in the pairing. Purnima seeks emotional completion. Chaturdashi seeks emotional transformation. These are not the same. Completion says, let us arrive. Transformation says, let us keep burning until only truth remains. Completion wants to build the home. Transformation wants to question the foundation. Completion wants peace after love. Transformation may want intensity before surrender. So if both are immature, Purnima may begin to experience Chaturdashi as unstable, difficult, emotionally unavailable, or unnecessarily intense. And Chaturdashi may begin to experience Purnima as too settled, too conventional, too emotionally polished, or unwilling to enter the deeper shadow. This can create a painful loop. Purnima tries to calm the relationship. Chaturdashi feels controlled. Chaturdashi pushes for raw truth. Purnima feels disturbed. Purnima asks for reassurance. Chaturdashi feels pressured. Chaturdashi withdraws. Purnima feels abandoned. And then both believe they are the wounded one. This is where the relationship becomes dangerous. Not because there is no love, but because both people begin to interpret the other person's emotional style as a personal attack. Purnima sees Chaturdashi's distance and thinks, you do not care. Chaturdashi sees Purnima's need for reassurance and thinks, you do not trust my depth. Purnima sees intensity and thinks, this is chaos. Chaturdashi sees peace-seeking and thinks, this is avoidance. And once this pattern forms, intimacy starts breaking from the inside. Now let us go deeper into the mental incompatibility. Mentally, Purnima often wants perspective. Purnima wants meaning. Purnima wants the emotional picture to make sense. There is usually a need for coherence. Even when Purnima is emotional, it wants to understand, where is this going? What is the purpose? Are we growing? Are we safe? Are we becoming better together? Chaturdashi thinks differently. Chaturdashi often searches beneath the surface. It can detect what is unsaid. It may be drawn to hidden motives, emotional shadows, symbolic meanings, and uncomfortable truths. It may not be satisfied with a peaceful explanation if it senses something deeper is being avoided. So in conversation, Purnima may say, let us not make this too heavy. Chaturdashi may say, it is heavy because it is real. Purnima may say, we should not fight about everything. Chaturdashi may say, I am not fighting. I am exposing what you do not want to see. Purnima may say, why can't we just be happy? Chaturdashi may say, because happiness without truth is not enough. Do you see the mental conflict? This is not just communication style. This is difference in emotional intelligence architecture. Purnima organizes life through fullness, dignity, perspective, and emotional continuity. Chaturdashi organizes life through intensity, disruption, truth, and transformation. So the mind of Purnima may feel exhausted by Chaturdashi's need to dig deeper, and the mind of Chaturdashi may feel bored, unseen, or emotionally dismissed by Purnima's desire to settle things. This is why intellectual compatibility in this pairing depends on maturity. If both are mature, this can become a powerful dialogue between wisdom and depth. Purnima brings the larger perspective. Chaturdashi brings the hidden truth. Purnima says, let us not destroy what is valuable. Chaturdashi says, let us not preserve what is false. Together, they can become a deeply insightful couple. But if immature, this becomes judgment. Purnima judges Chaturdashi as too intense. Chaturdashi judges Purnima as too comfortable. Purnima becomes tired, Chaturdashi becomes resentful, and the relationship slowly loses tenderness. Now let us speak about emotional intimacy. This is the most delicate part of the Purnima-Chaturdashi pairing. Purnima's emotional body wants love that feels visible. Purnima wants emotional recognition. It wants to know that the partner is present, committed, and responsive. It wants the relationship to feel like a full moon, luminous, clear, meaningful, and emotionally dignified. Chaturdashi's emotional body is more private. It may feel deeply, but it may not always express those feelings in a comforting way. It may carry intensity, loneliness, self-reliance, and a strange comfort with emotional extremes. Chaturdashi may love someone and still need solitude. It may desire union and still resist being fully claimed. It may long for spiritual intimacy and still fear ordinary emotional dependence. This can confuse Purnima. Purnima may ask, if you love me, why do you go silent? Chaturdashi may ask, if you love me, why do you need constant proof? Purnima may ask, why do you create distance? Chaturdashi may ask, why do you call my solitude distance? Here, both must grow. Purnima must understand that Chaturdashi's silence is not always rejection, but Chaturdashi must understand that silence without explanation can wound the partner. Purnima must understand that intensity is not always drama, but Chaturdashi must understand that intensity without regulation can become emotional aggression. Purnima must not become controlling in the name of emotional safety. Chaturdashi must not become avoidant in the name of freedom. This is the real test. Now let us enter sexual intimacy. This pairing can have strong sexual magnetism, but it can also have sexual mismatch if emotional safety is weak. Purnima sexuality is often connected with fullness, trust, affection, emotional beauty, and the feeling of being received. Purnima does not usually thrive in cold, inconsistent, or psychologically confusing intimacy. It wants sensuality to feel meaningful. It wants the body to be connected with emotional respect. Chaturdashi sexuality can be more intense, private, transformative, and psychologically charged. It may not be satisfied with surface romance. It may want depth, surrender, emotional nakedness, mystery, and a sense that intimacy touches something hidden. This can be magnetic. Purnima brings warmth. Chaturdashi brings fire. Purnima brings emotional fullness. Chaturdashi brings erotic intensity. Purnima brings tenderness. Chaturdashi brings psychological depth. But here is the danger. Purnima may need emotional closeness before sexual surrender. Chaturdashi may need intensity before emotional opening. Purnima may want affection after intimacy. Chaturdashi may become silent, inward, or self-contained after intimacy. Purnima may interpret this as rejection. Chaturdashi may interpret Purnima's need for tenderness as emotional demand. And if this happens repeatedly, the sexual bond becomes unstable. One partner starts feeling used or emotionally underfed. The other starts feeling pressured or emotionally monitored. This is where sexual intimacy becomes less about pleasure and more about insecurity. Purnima may think, why do I feel alone after being close? Chaturdashi may think, why does closeness always come with expectation? This must be addressed directly. Chaturdashi must learn emotional aftercare, not as performance, not as obligation, but as love. A few words, a touch, a moment of softness, a signal that says, I am still here. For Purnima, this matters deeply. And Purnima must learn not to turn every Chaturdashi inward movement into accusation. Sometimes Chaturdashi needs silence to integrate the intensity of connection, but silence must be respectful. It cannot become disappearance. This is how the sexual bond matures. Now let us talk about why this pairing may attract people who are healing from divorce, breakup, or emotional exhaustion. Because Purnima Chaturdashi often brings unfinished emotional material to the surface. If you are recently divorced or healing from a breakup, and you attract this kind of bond, ask yourself, am I drawn to this person because they are right for my peace, or because they awaken my unresolved intensity? Am I confusing emotional depth with emotional instability? Am I calling intensity soul connection when it is actually nervous system activation? Am I calling peace boring because I am addicted to emotional fire? This pairing can teach you a lot. It can show you whether you truly want intimacy or whether you are still attached to emotional drama. It can show you whether you want a partner or whether you want someone to complete your inner unfinished story. For singles, this pairing is a warning and a mirror. Do not mistake magnetism for compatibility. Do not mistake depth for availability. Do not mistake someone's mystery for emotional maturity. And do not mistake someone's stability for lack of passion. Purnima Chaturdashi asks you to become honest about what you can actually live with, because a relationship is not only about what attracts you, it is about what your emotional body can digest every day. Now, what can make this pairing work? The answer is maturity, not fantasy, not chemistry, not spiritual language, not we are meant to be. Maturity. Purnima must become emotionally spacious without becoming self-sacrificing. Chaturdashi must become emotionally responsible without feeling imprisoned. Purnima must stop trying to turn Chaturdashi into a simple, predictable, easy partner. Chaturdashi must stop expecting Purnima to tolerate intensity without reassurance. Purnima must say, I respect your depth, but I will not live in constant disturbance. Chaturdashi must say, I need truth and freedom, but I will not use them to avoid love. This is the breakthrough. If both can do this, the relationship becomes powerful. Purnima gives Chaturdashi a sense of emotional blessing, dignity, and wholeness. Chaturdashi gives Purnima depth, courage, and access to a more honest layer of intimacy. Purnima teaches Chaturdashi that love does not always need to burn to be real. Chaturdashi teaches Purnima that peace without truth can become emotional avoidance. Together, they can create a relationship that is both healing and deep, but only if they stop trying to defeat each other's nature. Now let us look at lifestyle. This couple needs a very conscious lifestyle. Purnima needs rhythm, shared meals, emotional rituals, stability, beauty, a sense of home, social dignity, clear commitment, a relationship that does not feel like a constant battlefield. Chaturdashi needs solitude, nature, inner work, creative or spiritual space, freedom of thought, privacy, transformation, a partner who does not shame intensity. So this couple cannot live well if the relationship is either too chaotic or too rigid. Too much chaos hurts Purnima. Too much routine suffocates Chaturdashi. The best lifestyle is one where there is a stable emotional home, but also private inner space. There must be togetherness, but also solitude. There must be affection, but also truth. There must be commitment, but not emotional possession. There must be passion, but also repair. This pairing may do well when both are involved in meaningful life paths. Healing, counseling, psychology, spirituality, astrology, research, teaching, creative work, nature, service, or any path where depth and wisdom are both valued. Because Purnima needs meaning. Chaturdashi needs transformation. When their life together has a higher purpose, the relationship becomes easier to hold. But if they are only trying to run a conventional relationship without understanding their emotional differences, they may hurt each other repeatedly. Now let me be direct. Purnima Chaturdashi is not a high comfort pairing. It is not naturally smooth. It is not a pairing where emotional needs automatically align. This is a pairing where one person may feel, I am trying to bring peace, and the other may feel, I am trying to bring truth, and both may be right. But peace without truth becomes shallow. Truth without peace becomes cruel. That is the lesson. If you are in this pairing, do not ask only, do we love each other? Ask better questions. Can we regulate conflict? Can we speak truth without attacking? Can we give reassurance without feeling controlled? Can we give space without creating abandonment? Can we make intimacy safe and intense at the same time? Can we stop punishing each other for being different? Because this pairing will not survive on attraction alone. It needs emotional literacy. It needs sexual maturity. It needs spiritual honesty. It needs self-awareness. Purnima must not become the rescuer. Chaturdashi must not become the wounded rebel. Purnima must not use peace to silence difficult conversations. Chaturdashi must not use truth to justify emotional sharpness. If both remain unconscious, this relationship can become tiring, confusing, and deeply one-sided. Purnima gives and waits. Chaturdashi burns and withdraws. Purnima asks for closeness. Chaturdashi asks for space. Purnima becomes hurt. Chaturdashi becomes defensive. And slowly, the love becomes heavy. But if both become conscious, this relationship can become a rare form of intimacy. Not easy intimacy, but meaningful intimacy. The kind where one partner brings light and the other brings shadow. The kind where one partner brings fullness and the other brings transformation. The kind where both stop asking, why are you not like me? And begin asking, how do I love you without losing myself? That is the real doorway. So if you are Purnima, remember this. Your fullness is beautiful. Your need for emotional safety is valid. Your desire for dignity, warmth, and clarity is not weakness. But do not confuse Chaturdashi's intensity with lack of love every time. Learn to see the difference between depth and danger. And if you are Chaturdashi, remember this. Your intensity is powerful. Your need for truth is valid. Your self-dependence and spiritual longing are real. But do not confuse emotional responsibility with imprisonment. Learn to show love in ways the other person can actually receive. Because love that is only felt but not expressed becomes loneliness for the partner. And love that is constantly demanded but not trusted becomes pressure for the partner. This is where maturity begins. Purnima Chaturdashi is the pairing of the full moon and the fierce threshold. One says, let love become whole. The other says, let love become true. And the relationship works only when both realize. Wholeness needs truth. Truth needs tenderness. If you are listening to this and you recognize your relationship here, do not panic. But do not romanticize it either. This is not a pairing to handle casually. It asks for awareness. It asks for emotional discipline. It asks for honesty about desire, loneliness, commitment, withdrawal, sexual rhythm, and the deeper needs beneath conflict. And this is exactly why TD compatibility matters. Because sometimes the issue is not that one person is wrong and the other is right. Sometimes the issue is that two emotional bodies are trying to love each other from two different lunar frequencies. And once you understand that, you stop blaming blindly. You start seeing clearly. You start asking better questions. You start understanding why one person needs reassurance while the other needs space. Why one person wants softness while the other wants intensity. Why one person wants the relationship to feel complete while the other wants the relationship to keep transforming. That is the value of a deep intimacy reading. Not to scare you, not to label you, not to decide your relationship for you, but to reveal the emotional pattern beneath the attraction. Because when you understand the pattern, you can make mature choices. You can decide whether this bond can grow. You can decide what needs to be healed. You can decide whether the intensity is sacred or whether it is simply repeating old wounds. You can decide whether the relationship is asking you to mature or asking you to leave. And that clarity is priceless. So if you want to understand your own tie-dye compatibility, your emotional body, your partner's intimacy rhythm, and the hidden reasons behind attraction, distance, conflict, desire, and emotional mismatch, connect with me for a deep intimacy and compatibility reading. Because the right reading does not only tell you whether someone is compatible, it tells you how they love, how they withdraw, how they desire, how they fear, how they bond, and what kind of maturity the relationship demands from both of you. And for a pairing like Purnima, Chaturdashi, that understanding can be the difference between emotional exhaustion and conscious intimacy.